In today's video, we will look into a scenario in which World War III happens. But for today's video, we will be showing how it will happen, and tomorrow's video will be the World War III from the scenario we come up with today. And one I'm thinking of is a Chinese attack on Taiwan, because if we look, if China attacks Taiwan, there's other countries that support Taiwan, which could be good and could be bad. But quickly, an eruption happens after this happens, with Japan and South Korea coming to Taiwan's defense instantly. But not just them. The US joined. We're going to have to turn this into World War III, so yeah. Australia does join too, let's say, in Canada, because Canada just does do whatever the US does, because why not? It makes sense, doesn't it? And with most of the Western areas being, more democratic. But let's see. With China thinking their best bet is to get another nation to join against the Western Hemisphere countries, which they do by paying Cuba to join the war on their side. Which, basically, they send aid and stuff to Cuba in return for Cuba joining the war. So Cuba becomes one of the first members to join this war. That's not for the blue team. But then Australia becomes a powerful one. And then the United Kingdom's just like, you need to join this war, is what the Americans say to the UK. With that being seen, Russia uses this as a prime time to help China. And quickly, Ukraine decides to join the Western team. And why do they do this? To make sure all teams that join and then Russia joins and starts getting aid from China, which de facto puts them on China's side, along with Belarus, because Belarus does whatever they're told. As you can tell, it's already expanding, and let's say they invade the Baltics, and North Korea joins. And as we can tell, the war is starting to expand rapidly. If Syria, Lebanon, and Iran, as I would suspect, joins the war, at this point with all those countries, Pakistan joins the war, going to war with India, who, let's say, is just going to be like that. With a war happening on Azerbaijan, because Iran doesn't like that they're trying to get Armenia, so they declare war on Armenia, which is taken by Turkey as a declaration of war on them. Georgia joins this front, and Armenia joins. That's how I get Armenia on the red team. If Azerbaijan was one on the opposite team, well, it would be different. Well, if I would say at some point NATO would get involved, let's say NATO gets involved because Russia decides to do some things it probably shouldn't have been doing. And all of NATO basically just says, yeah, we're joining. But, as you can tell, somebody's going to be Poland forces Hungary into the war, basically, to join this team. Now in Europe, you have two choices. Be Switzerland and Austria, or be Russia or NATO. Ireland just chooses NATO because they can. As I said, they did. Maybe they wouldn't, but this is mapping. And with all the North Atlantic Treaty Organization joining, as we know, one of America's biggest allies starts to work with them, which is Morocco, which occupies most of Western Sahara, but let's just say Western Sahara declares war on them, along with Algeria. Libya joins. Egypt, no, I would say they would join the blue team. Meanwhile, Ethiopia joins the red team, leading Ethiopia to join the blue team. Sudan tags along, and so does Somalia. Wait, I don't think Sudan would do that because I'm certain that South Sudan, which is a American ally, would join the blue team, leading Sudan on the red team. Because, yeah, relations. And so Eritrea joins this team. Djibouti just stays out because everybody's there. Israel decides to join the blue team, which may have been a mistake because that adds more nations. Iraq joins the war on the side of the red team, and then the rest of Arabia either joins the Americans or don't. Kuwait joins the Americans, Jordan does. The peninsula basically all falls under blue team domination, with Central Asia being mostly red team domination, with Afghanistan being more red team and the rest of Central Asia being more red team, although some of them are shifting towards the west, like Uzbekistan and a few, but I still would say Central Asia would be firm Russian control because Russia has a lot of influence, and so does China over that region. I mean, naturally, yes. With Kosovo and Bosnia and Moldova picking a side, Serbia takes a side. This leads to Europe being fully dominated. With Nicaragua and Venezuela joining the red team along with Honduras. Belize, Guatemala, El Salvador, Costa Rica, Mexico all decide to join this team, along with a big chunk of the Caribbean in that island because I said so. But this is where Brazil and Colombia joins the war. Uruguay joins, Chile and Argentina join because Argentina wouldn't go against them. Let's say, I don't know what Peru and Bolivia would do. They might go against them. With it being, hard to say. But for the entertainment of this series, let's just say they do this. Why is Argentina on the same side? Because, would they be? Maybe, unless they want the Falklands back. But I don't know. One's reasonable. Except I forgot one nation who has border disputes, meaning this. I'm just playing Peru and Bolivia on. Maybe they wouldn't, maybe they would. If you think otherwise, you can say otherwise. With the economic community of West Africa, which recently I learned about, let's say, joins them, with the coup places being more pro. Yeah, being like that. And basically, Mauritania just does something different. And don't forget Guinea would do something different because, yeah. Let's say South Africa joins the blue team. Probably Kenya would join it. And by this look, I'd say all of these nations would join on the American side just because East African. Now the rest of Africa is confusing, which probably isn't a word because I'm using bad English for some reason. But yeah, let's just say it is. And then these nations join China. And then let's say Vietnam just joins the US because they do. And the Philippines join. I don't know what Indonesia would do. But I know Angola, Mozambique might not be the best relations, but that's just it. And Cameroon and them I can search up. What would happen over China-Taiwan if it somehow erupted into World War III, which it might not. And New Zealand's just now realizing what's going on, and they're like, yeah, Australia. I don't know, the rest of Africa, just comment. If nations you believe would be on a different team, comment it. If I have nations on the wrong team and you think I should switch sides, comment. If there's nations you wouldn't get involved there, you can comment that. Just make this a perfect scenario, but this is so far. And plus, those countries in Africa I haven't done, I don't really know much about. But Nigeria is also close to China, so I don't know what they would do. But they're also close to the U.S. Maybe they would stay neutral. Maybe they would go against the coup countries at this point. But there's a bunch of them. They're like, now is the time to strike against the coups. And basically, as we can see, Asia looks firmly dominated by China and Russia. North America is dominated by the US. Europe is dominated by Europe. And as we can tell, Africa is split, with some of the weaker countries being against and some of the stronger ones being on both sides, like Algeria, Morocco, Egypt. And that's pretty much all. Please like and subscribe. That's all for today's video. Do you think this is how World War III would happen? Comment yes or no. That's all for today's video. Wild Mapper out, but not until you subscribe. Bye, guys!